Hi everyone, and welcome to mini lecture 16. Today we're going to discuss the database Jstor. Before we begin, take a moment to gather the materials for today's lecture assignment. You'll need a blank Word document to do some writing on and access to your current project draft materials. Now today's lecture will focus specifically on Jstor. Jstor is a scholarly database that is provided through the DSU library, and so you will need to basically be sure that you can sign in using your DSU credentials to access all of Jstor and access all of its features. Now, what is Jstor and what makes it different from other general/multi-subject databases? Jstor is a scholarly journal archive that provides image and full-text access to archival, more than 5 years old scholarly journals in a wide variety of subject areas. So there are a couple cool things that Jstor does that in some capacity others do not. So first, it guarantees that it is providing you full text access. Now, even as you go through and explore other databases, you might not have that guarantee of full text access. Now, what that means is, let's say you're going through another database and you find a very promising title or abstract, and you say to yourself, hey, this article would be great. It would inform the project that I'm working on, be it an analysis, a synthesis, or an argument, but then you go to click on it and you don't have full access. Well, at best, you'll have the abstract and maybe the first page or two, but you can't really do much with that. And at worst, you just have access to the title and the abstract. Either way, that doesn't provide you the information necessary for ethically using that information in your work. Jstor, on the other hand, says, no, well, if you're here, then you have full access or full text access to any of the journal articles that you can find on our databases. And so that way, that basically prevents you going through and saying, hey, this is a great article, and then not having access to it. So when you do use Jstor, if you find a promising title and a cool reading abstract, then you will have access to the article in its entirety, and that will give you more information to go off of and, again, ethically incorporate into your own work if you deem it appropriate. What it also does is it privileges archival scholarly journals, so again, more than 5 years old. Some databases will drop journal articles or journals in their entirety after they reach a certain point. Now, while that does make room for the newest information possible, we also unfortunately lose out on some important information that might help us historicize or explore the history of the topic that we're looking at. So for example, if you're looking at something in education, maybe you want an article that's, was published in the 90s or the early 2000s. Well, there might be databases that you're working on that might not carry those works that old. Well, Jstor does. I've actually, in my own research, come across and used an article from Jstor that was published back, I believe, in 1932. So it definitely does go back. Those are some of the affordances of Jstor and how Jstor is a bit different than other multi-purpose, multi-subject, generic databases. So what we're going to do to more fully explore Jstor's interface and its affordances and features, we're actually going to turn to the site itself. So I am going to head over to the DSU library homepage. So if you just basically Google Dixie State University Library, this should be the first hit. So in order to navigate to Jstor, what I want to do is go to this far left-hand column here and click on Article Databases. Now, once we do, and once that option is highlighted, we see another drop-down menu appear. So because of how the library has built out their website, we could actually access Jstor from several of these links, but I find it easiest to just go to the general multi-subject list. So you can see here we have a number of options, each with their own sort of special focus or emphasis. So if we scroll down about halfway, we will find Jstor. So we can see here it says access provided by Dixie State University. Now I've already signed in, and if this is your first time accessing Jstor, or if it's the first time in a while, you probably will need to just provide your login credentials. But doing that is just as easy as signing into your email account or onto Canvas. So we are greeted by this landing page here. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, in the center of the page, we see this search bar. So search Jstor. So let's say I am interested in young adult literature. Let's say I want to look at it through an educational perspective. So I could type in young adult literature. So you can already see through this number here, we have over 200,000 results. That's a lot, but let's just see what we come up with. All right, so with a basic search, you can see here that we have full-blown journals that have special issues on young adult literature. So the English Journal, published back in 1997. So again, remember it's archival, so older than 5 years. So we'll find things from 2013 and further back. So we've got a full-blown journal article here that is just dedicated to young adult literature. We also have finding young adult literature, what is it? So maybe if we find it important in whatever paper it is or project it is that we're working on to define what young adult literature is, maybe that article would be helpful. And again, published in 1998, so a little bit older. And so, wow, you can see here that we have a lot of options from a number of great journals, from everything from the English Journal to American Secondary Education, the High School Journal, more of the English Journal, so Journal of Reading. So you can see here that we're pulling from several disciplines. So there are some that focus more on secondary ed, more focused on education in general, others focused on college English. But as you can see here, we could download each and every one of these articles and have access to it. Again, a really great plus for using Jstor. What I would also recommend is, as you go along, and even if you find a source that you don't in the long run end up using, but have some interest in, I would just go to cite this item, and then that way you can copy and paste the different citations, and then that way you can reference the information with greater ease. So as we see here, we also have the opportunity to sort our search results. Now keep in mind we're just working with a basic search right now, so we could do the newest results first. And so again, earliest we would probably see, oh wow, so they've got up till 2018. That's great. And again, we have full access to that. So that's great that they've updated and they're including more recent work. I actually did not know that they were making this switch. This is a happy find for me as well. So, but we can see here that perhaps this might not be the best way to sort our information. So remember, we had, at least in this search for young adult literature, in this case over 150,000 search results, but structural complexity and biomass of arid zone mangroves in the Southwest Gulf of California. That has nothing to do with young adult literature. But in some way, shape, or form, those words were found as the database was crawling through the different articles that it provides. So what I would always recommend then is to sort by relevance. If the dates of newest to oldest, if that does hold some importance for you and you do want to prioritize certain articles based on when they were published, that might be an option. But just as a default, I would always say go by relevance. Now again, we've got a lot of search results here, so maybe what we can do in order to help us narrow down the results we receive, we go to the advanced search. So we'll type in, we've already done young adult literature, and I'm going to just keep all fields. That means it's going to search the author's name, item title, abstract, and caption. So if there are any photos in there that have young adult literature, it'll search those as well. And so basically it's going to go throughout the document in its entirety to find the words young adult literature. Now we can also choose the different words that we use. So remember, if I want to use and, that means it wants to find young adult literature and, let's say, high school. So yeah, let's say that we are looking at the applications of young adult literature in the high school classroom. Now, if I were to click or, that means that the results that come up will either include young adult literature or high school. And if we say not, then that means that I'm going to get search results that have young adult literature, but nothing mentioning high school at any point in the text. Now, if there are certain authors that you are aware of, perhaps you've used them or read them in other classes, you can also search by author name as well. So maybe if, there's a certain scholar that researches young adult literature, maybe you've read them in an education class or something along those lines. You could say young adult literature and the author's name, and it will provide you what articles Jstor has access to that author has published on young adult literature. So we can also narrow down by types. So I would always recommend just going for the articles. Those are going to be the most common types of sources integrated into scholarly writing and into academic writing. Now, depending on your topic, maybe you find research reports would also be applicable, so we'll search that as well. Books, reviews, pamphlets, miscellaneous, so we definitely have these options available. Also, we can select by language. So with Jstor, they are an international database. So they're not just publishing or making available English or journals written in English. Rather, you can find journals from all over the world, which, if you're researching something like international business and you're focusing on a particular region, maybe you find yourself saying, okay, well, I know that I'm looking at Northern Europe, so maybe I want to just find articles that are written in German, because maybe I just am interested in German-based articles. So I could select German and it'll pull everything from German. And then if we want to narrow down our search results in terms of publication date, we can do that as well. So if I'm thinking about young adult literature in high school education, maybe I say, okay, well, I really want to just focus on the 21st century. So I will look for journals published or articles published from 2000 to 2018. So journal or book title, again, if there are certain journals that you're familiar with that maybe you've used for other classes, you can search those as well. Another really cool thing about Jstor is it allows you to search by discipline. So you can see here that there are so many available options to you based on your own interests. So we have everything from African American studies to business, criminology and criminal justice, finance, environmental studies, Irish studies, performing arts, technology, zoology, public health. So you can see here that regardless of what your topic is, it's very likely that you're going to find something for it on Jstor. So I'm not going to click any of these boxes here, but to narrow down by discipline, but that option is available to you. So, but let's search what we do have. So we got that little search button down there that we clicked on. Okay, cool. So we've got a number of great results here that fit the filters that we have applied. So all of our search results are going to have young adult literature and high school included in the works that appear in our results. Also, they are going to have been published between 2000 and 2018. And we are going to have access to all of them as well. And all of these are going to be journals in this sense. Because we did click by, we also did select research findings. But sometimes, just depending on the discipline, they might not, there might not be search results under that filter. But if you're, let's say, looking into more of the hard sciences, maybe that, you come across more search results under that category. So let's say I look at young adult literature, AP and YA. So we can open that link just from the search results page here. Okay, great. So this provides us, first and foremost, all of our citation information, which is going to be important, especially for projects 3, 4, and 5, but is also going to be important for any type of academic writing that you do. What's also great about Jstor, but I think more scholarly databases are starting to pick up on, is that not only do they provide you online access, but you can actually download these articles as well and save them to your desktop. So if your Wi-Fi is not as great, or if you're in a position where you don't have access to the internet for whatever reason, you can just download the articles and then read them without the requirement of an internet connection. So we can save the article if we want to create our own Jstor account. We can cite the item on this page as well. We can also pull up information on the journal. So if we're trying to assess the ethos or the credibility of the article and we want to learn more about the journal it was published in, we can do that here too. So we see here that we've got the full-blown article and we can navigate from one page to the next. It's cool because it also tells us your search term occurs 103 times in this item, which makes sense of why it was the first search result that appeared. So we see here that through Jstor, it's pretty comprehensive, and there are a number of great things that you can do with it. It really does allow you to get specific in the type of search results that you receive, and really gives you as the researcher the opportunity to say, here's the type of information I want to find, go find it. And Jstor 9 times out of 10 will deliver. So now let's return to discuss our lecture assignment. All right. So what I would like you to do then is, using the considerations we've discussed, I want you to perform a search using Jstor that will help you develop material for your current project. Whether that's to better help you understand the analysis you're performing, the perspectives that you are examining, or the argument that you're trying to make. And so what then I'd like you to do is compose a brief write-up, so about 75 words, detailing your research process using Jstor and discussing the implications your results have on your current project. So as you're going through, in your write-up, you could say, okay, well, I plugged in this search term and this search term, and I made sure that they were both included by using the word and. I also wanted to find research reports and journal articles, or maybe you just clicked on journal articles. Maybe you refined the dates of publication. Maybe you checked some of those boxes to look through a specific discipline. So really what I just want to know what your research narrative looks like. So what did you do on Jstor? And then what kind of results did you get, and how will those results, do you think, how will they help you better understand the current project that you are working on? All right, everyone, that does it for this mini lecture. If you have any questions, or if there are any concepts that I can speak to further, please don't hesitate to contact me. All right, everyone, until next time.